said Saints back to their best in the first half. I agree with that. Lead could have been more if Sneed hadn't pulled back Batchelor on his disallowed try and Knowles hadn't got himself binned. Johnny ran the show with brilliant attacking kicks and an excellent drop goal to stretch our half-time lead. Salford weren't done. Cheered on by a great following, they gave it their all, but it wasn't enough and Benno sealed it. Onwards to the big dance.
And Scoot says, Saints were the better team throughout the game, yet they didn't manage to run away with it. The tenacity of Salford kept him in the game. I was surprised that Kendall didn't go to the video ref at the end.
Yeah, and Mark Hay said Salford entered the semi-final with a 22% win rate under Chris Kendall. So that either means that most of their games refereed by Chris Kendall have been against teams like Wigan and St Helens that most of the time will beat Salford, or it means that Salford haven't adapted to how Chris Kendall referees. It's not that Chris Kendall's biased, just so people know. Despite heroic performance from all, especially Chris Atkin and Tyler Dupree, who I thought were the best of a brave band of brothers, the Red Devils were pipped and ripped by Saints and Kendall. No more negativity of the thieving, cheating bell-end Kendall. No Croft or Ackers stifled the potent Salford attack. Great season. Onwards and upwards, Red Devils. Interesting to see who referees the grand final. I don't think they've announced who's going to be refereeing the grand final yet, have they?
Not that I've seen.
We'll talk a bit about that later on, I think. But, so Morgan Knowles' grade B dangerous contact charge. His 2-match penalty notice has been upheld. He's got a £500 fine. That means he'll miss the grand final, he'll miss the warm-up game, but he'll be available for the World Cup. So, thankfully, even though it was clearly frivolous as fuck, the RFL have decided that this was not frivolous and have therefore kept it at 2 matches. But it felt frivolous to me. It felt like one of the most deliberate acts of foul play I've seen all season long.
Yes, I can't really disagree with that. I think it was very revealing when Kyle Amors commenting on it. And bearing in mind, Kyle Amors' his mate, played with him for years, etc., and he didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to say to a national TV audience about it, did he? Because it was doghousery of the worst type. It was disgusting.
I'm trying to think of I think 2 games for it because there was no injury, because it didn't result in an injury. That's why it's the slowest 2 games versus, say, something like a Will Price with his spear tackle that could have been like career-ending, life-threatening, and 10 games or what have you. But still, this is deliberate foul play that could clearly injure a player. And to be honest, if Kendall had have picked up Saints for fucking around at about the 3 rucks before that one, then Knowles probably wouldn't have been able to have done what he did at that ruck. But what he did was so out of line, so beyond the line. It just feels wrong. But I get why they could only give a yellow card, because you can't be certain in the heat of battle when it's dangerous contact just how it's played out, if you know what I mean. Or do you disagree? Do you think it should have been a red card?
It's a red card, and I'll tell you why it's a red card. And I'll talk about it in conjunction with the Bateman one, which obviously, remember, was a red card. Bateman made a mistake, and he was punished for it, quite rightly, because of the potential impact of it. Morgan Knowles did not make a mistake. This is a deliberate act to put a player in a compromising position. It's foul play. It's more than foul play in the sense that it's deliberate. He knew exactly what he was doing. It's a shithouse move. And if we're not punishing these things with red cards, what are we doing? It's deliberate. It was seen. It was clear on the replay. The video ref could have got involved. It's clearly a red card for me. It's not even a debate. If you're the kind of man who can do that to a fellow professional, you shouldn't be playing the game. It's as black and white as that for me.
I don't think we've ever seen anything quite like that out of Knowles before, have we? I don't know if he just lost himself in the moment or something. because it, like I say, we've seen him make some hard hits before. We've seen him make the odd late tackle because he plays in the back row for St Helens. But I don't think we've seen anything like that out of him before. I don't know where it's come from, but it's
that's
bang out of line.
I don't recall him doing anything like that either. But that doesn't make it any better.
No.
It's a potentially kind of career shortening, certainly injury causing thing. And it was not just. It didn't just happen once. There was like a movement, and then there was another movement, and then there was another movement. He knew exactly what he was doing, because at the same time, Roby had also got hold of Atkin in the other way as well. So Roby had hold of him, and he was like, they knew exactly what they were doing, and he had probably 2 or 3 opportunities to just release the arm. Release the arm, problem goes away.
Or even just go the other side and hold it. Like, they were holding the wrists because that's what they do. That's how people slow down the rucks now. They hold the wrist of the non-ball carrying arm. But like, don't take it outside of the range of normal motion.
Yeah.
Anyway, thankfully Chris Atkin wasn't injured. Morgan Knowles will, suffer from not playing in a grand final because of his actions, and let's move on to the other aspects of this match, shall we? Because that was by no means the only talking point.
Nope.
Roundup disciplinary. Jack Wellsby got a grade A high tackle charge, no match penalty notice for his hit on Chris Atkin.
Shoulder contact with the head. Familiar to anybody?
This was, on first watch, one of the most exciting tackles of the season. Wasn't it?
It looked like a very hard...
beautifully timed. Exactly what we want to see as rugby league fans in terms of our love of the physicality of our sport.
There was nothing wrong with the timing, I'll give you that. The timing was absolutely bang on. The contact was not bang on.
No, it was. There was an element of shoulder touching chin.
And blood in the mouth and blood coming out of the nose tells me everything I need to know where the contact was. That didn't happen, spontaneously.
No, but similarly, this wasn't deliberate or malicious or anything like that. It shows the fine margins in our sport, the speed it's played at, and I kind of feel, in a little way, a bit sorry for Jack Wellsby that he's put on one of the most exciting hits of the year, and everyone was talking about should he be banned for the grand final.
Well, this is the thing. Like it was mistimed. I agree there was no malicious intent with it. I agree with all those things, but we've just said all those things about Bateman.
Yeah, but Bateman's was late and it's kept a guy out of the grand final.
Yeah, I wouldn't. To be honest, I understand why it was a grade A. I do understand why, but. On another day, it could have been a one-match ban.
If we compare it to other offences this year, back at the start of the year when things were taken a lot more seriously in terms of head stuff, until coaches started crying and so they stopped sending people off, there was an offence that actually wasn't picked up for a card during the game that it was played in the very first round of the year. Do you remember Ben Curry against Leeds with a challenge, I think, on David Fuzzatua, where incidentally his shoulder hit the head when he was going in for a perfectly formed, well-timed tackle, but it hit the shoulder, touched the head, sort of thing. He got a grade A charge and a no-match penalty notice out of that, I'm pretty sure. So, in that regard, it's consistency. And when people are like, all we want is consistency, that's consistency. So, Leeds fans can stop crying now because I've pointed out that it's consistency. Although if we're talking about consistency, the St Helens fans spent fucking hours poring over every moment in the match to find a Salford high tackle that wasn't punished at all, and there was one by Callum Watkins on Mark Percival, it appears, although we've only seen one angle of it, so I don't know if it was quite the contact that it looked, but yeah, they've missed that one in the disciplinary panel if the contact is what the one replay I've seen suggests of it, but seriously, get a life, guys.
I feel the need to redress the balance slightly in the sense. I think it has to be said that for the first 25 minutes, Saints were brilliant in this match.
Yes.
They were back to their intense, intimidating best.
Yes.
And they had speed, they had power, and Salford did remarkably well to still hang with them in that time.
Yeah, I think it's as good as St. Helens can be right now, that first 25 minutes or so of the game.
Yeah.
I thought they were absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
I thought
think
Lomax
Salford
was awesome, Batchelor was excellent,
Yeah.
Matty Lees was superb, Passy was good, Sirenan was good. I thought they were outstanding.
Yeah. I think Salford were kind of, as I said, they were hanging on. Salford were getting away with not being square at the mark a heck of a lot. There was a lot of kind of players kind of stepping half a yard to one side. They were very often not square at marker, so they were getting away with that one, I thought. But yeah, I thought other people have picked out the short kicking game and how brilliant the short kicking game was, and that's obviously led to their try and their near try. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about that near try because that came first, didn't it? Batchelor chasing a really good kick by Lomax, but Batchelor put it down on the in-goal line, didn't quite get there. Saints fans have mentioned it because, again, they're going to be counterfactual. Fair enough, because I think there was some merit in this one. But I do think that Batchelor had to go through Sneed in some way or another, and both of them seemed to pull each other's arms, to me. I don't think it was necessarily like someone grabbing someone's shoulder and pulling them back. It wasn't as bad as the Makinson one in terms of what Sneed did, but I do think there is an argument to say that could have been a yellow card as well, but I do think also Batchelor could have just ran round him rather than putting his arm out. So
yeah, and as the bigger man, he got past him and there was contact. Sneed did make contact with him, but it felt incidental. And let's be honest, this was reviewed by the video referee, so the video referee had the chance to look at it and didn't make a comment on it, so he thought it was incidental as well.
I think there was something there, but I don't think it was clear and obvious foul play, because like I say, I think both players put their arms out.
Yeah, there was as you said, there was definitely contact, and yeah, obviously the ball beat Batchelor to it, I suppose. So it was a tad unlucky from their point of view, in terms of the chance that kind of went begging.
But then they executed even better, didn't they, shortly after when they actually scored the try? So
exactly, yeah. So yeah, the Saints short kicking game in this game was on point and consistently good, and put Salford under pressure, with dropouts, etc. later on as well. So yeah, very, very impressive, and better than I've seen Saints play for quite some time, you would say, on balance.
Yeah, I hadn't read David's fan view before I'd done this, but I agree so much with him about that sort of first period and stuff and things like that. And I do think that Salford were massively on the back foot, and if it wasn't for that stupidity from Knowles, that malicious stupidity from Knowles, and then a marginal pass being called as a fair pass to Watkins for his try, I thought there was a conversation to be had about whether that was forward or not. And that kind of put Salford in it by the end of the first half, more so than it felt like they should have been, because for the rest of that sin bin period they didn't really stress St. Helens. No,
Saints had took the heat out of it, as they are brilliant at doing. So yeah, it didn't feel like they had a massive chance, other than obviously the try that they did score, which was marginally forward, but I think there were quite a few marginal forward passes from Salford that they kind of got away with, particularly from dummy half. And I don't think the service from dummy half was anything like as good, which obviously plays to the thing about Ackers being missing. It was, yeah, you can't underplay that too much, the absence of Ackers for me.
No, and it was a big factor. You said about the individual stats with Baru. He worked really hard, tackled more than anyone
Yes.
else this weekend, and huge